It is my distinguished pleasure to welcome all of you to the Africa REIT Conference 2026 under the theme Transforming Africa's REIT Landscape Through Policy Innovation, Market Transparency, and Global Alignment. Now, this Africa REIT Conference has been a long journey. We started in 2023 under the theme Building Momentum and Unlocking the Power of REITs in East Africa. This is when REITs were just becoming a new thing in the market, and we were trying to build momentum and build conversations around how we were going to deepen our African REIT market. In 2024, we gathered here again, and we explored how we could navigate new frontiers. And the theme was unlocking the potential of Africa's REIT market. So, as you can tell, the past two conferences were focused on unlocking the Africa REIT potential. And that potential can very well be seen in our markets today. But this time we want to have a very different conversation. And we are moving just from conversations to action. We've already seen the proof of concept, and now we want to scale the Africa REIT story. So, very quickly, I want to just give you a brief background on the Africa REIT story. Now, when I'm not emceeing, I'm a professional in the capital markets, and my day-to-day job is actually, I am in charge of listings and capital raising at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. So whatever statistics I'm going to give you about the Africa REIT market right now, you will not need to justify using ChatGPT. You can just take my word for it, okay? So this is my professional capacity. But today, the Africa REIT market is estimated at about roughly $30 billion in total market capitalization. So that's quite significant. But here's the reality. Over 95% of that value sits in one market, South Africa. So you can just digest that for a second. So across the rest of the continent, the story is a bit different. Nigeria, approximately $600 million. Kenya, just over $300 million. And many other markets still in early formation. So we can all agree that Africa is not a small market, right? It's just an early market. And this presents numerous opportunities. Because if we just take a look globally, we see that the contrast is quite striking. And I continue with the statistics. In the United States alone, the REIT market exceeds $1.3 trillion in value. I mean, that's Africa's GDP combined, right? Globally, REIT assets have surpassed $2 trillion, spanning over 1,000 listed vehicles across more than 40 countries, which means Africa represents less than 2% of the global REIT universe, less than 2%. But that's not a bad thing. It actually means that this presents one of the largest untapped opportunities in global capital markets today. And even more compelling is actually the performance is already showing what is possible. Last year, in 2025, the South African REITs actually returned 46%, which is way better than it actually outperformed some of the global markets, including the USA. And maybe just slightly behind the Nairobi Securities Exchange, which returned 52%. As a whole, I just had to slide that in there so that if you are sitting on some loose money, you can also look at our market as well. So the opportunity is not the question. The real question is scale. And that's what we will be unpacking in the next few days. Over the next 2 days, this room will host some of the most important discussions shaping the future of Africa's real estate capital markets. And we will be looking to unpack regulatory and policy reforms. We will be moving on to innovative REIT structures. We will be looking at transparency in the REIT markets, data, and we will also benchmark against global best practice with representatives from the USA, South Africa, so that we can really move this conversation forward from just indoor conversations to action. And I'm glad to report that we are seeing a lot of activity in our markets, in Kenya specifically. We've had one REIT already listed this year. We're expecting a few more to come. So the momentum is building, and that's what we really want to do now, to scale this $1.3 trillion opportunity and really grab the pie of the market for the African REIT capital markets. So what is my rallying call to all of you? Yesterday, as we were going as I was going around during the cocktail session, I spoke to a few people, and it was interesting that a lot of you are actually here to learn. And I spoke to two gentlemen who were saying, I am actually looking out 3, 4, 5 years from now, and I really want to understand this REIT animal and see what are the opportunities that I could take advantage of right now. So I encourage you to lean into the discussions, challenge assumptions, share boldly, and let's take this conversation forward. But before we do that, all this would not be possible without our sponsors, and I would like to take this opportunity to recognize our sponsors, starting with our diamond sponsor, which is the Affordable Housing Board. We have our gold sponsors, American Towers Corporation. This is where you clap, ladies and gentlemen. You enjoyed some very good cocktails yesterday. It was paid for. It didn't just come. Yeah. So property development management, parking properties, Africa Logistic Properties, Mboya Wangongo and Wayaki. If I mention your law firm and you're here, please just raise your hand so that people can know where you're seated. I see my good friend, Mr. Peter, at the back there. Yeah, so that's Mboya Wangongo. The capital markets, I think Mr. Justice Agoti is here. Then we have our silver sponsors, Lab Trust, Imara REIT, Construct Africa, International Housing Solutions. That clap is very weak, guys. You can do better. Yeah. And then we have our bronze sponsors, Acorn Cooperative Bank, Dyer and Blair Investment Bank, REITs Association, and then Laser, Mivida, Triple OK, Brian. Triple OK is also represented in the room. And lastly, we have our industry partners, Brawl, the Nairobi Securities Exchange. I see Mr. Brian Diga somewhere here. Brian runs with REITs at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And we have ILAM as well. So please, a big round of applause to all our sponsors of the day.